department is the prisons. And while Commissioner Resnick is coming up, I was asked to just make note. I know we're very tight on time with the prisons because I have another commitment, because we are running late here. So just to let all the members know, we are trying to do this as quickly as possible. Do you want to come up, or you want me to keep doing what we want? All right, okay. All right, okay.
Thanks. Thanks.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You got your whole team coming up. Okay, all right.
Oh yeah, I got my my backup.
Please. Yes. Yeah. Hold on one second. Put his microphone on, please. Okay.
Point of personal privilege,
Sure.
if I may, before we get started. I want to congratulate the team that applied for and has been working hard in part with the MacArthur grant for receiving full funding. So I'm going to say, congratulations for the MacArthur team.
Thank you.
You bet.
A lot of work, a lot of hard work by a lot of people. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'm Michael Resnick. I'm the Acting Commissioner of the Philadelphia Prison System. Joining me today are Deputy Commissioners Tomaszewski, Bryant, and Carney, along with our Chief of Medical Operations, Dr. Bruce Herdman, and our Administrative Services Director, Jerry Buck. And at this time, I'd just like to acknowledge that our Deputy Commissioner, Blanche Carney, has been appointed to be the Commissioner effective May 23rd.
Congratulations.
So welcome. Congratulate
Thank
her
you.
here.
Yeah, very good.
I'm pleased to provide testimony on the Philadelphia Prison System's fiscal 2017 operating budget. The mission of the prison system is to provide a secure correctional environment that adequately detains persons accused or convicted of illegal acts, to provide programs, services, and supervision in a safe, lawful, clean, humane environment, and to prepare incarcerated persons for reentry into society in a frame of mind that will facilitate their becoming law-abiding citizens. The prison system will support the administration's goal of criminal justice reform by continuing to offer programs and services designed to enable successful reintegration of ex-offenders into society. This continuity of care starts while individuals are incarcerated and links them to services and supports when they leave the prison system, with the ultimate goal of reducing recidivism and decreasing the number of incarcerated individuals in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia prison system has the following goals for FY17. Reduce the jail population, ensure that 100% of inmates have a risk needs assessment discharge plan, ensure that 100% of the sentenced population is involved in at least one type of programming, such as vocational, educational, or life skills programs, increase the capacity of our work release program, and increase the rate of program participation for the pretrial population. The proposed fiscal 2017 general fund budget totals $2,258,831,670. That's an increase of $4.4 million over fiscal year 2016 estimated obligations, and that increase is primarily due to our correctional officer contract arbitration award. Our Class 200 contracts, 300, 400 supplies and equipment, and 500 inmate work pay have been held harmless from 2016 levels. That concludes my testimony, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I know you're tight on time. Let me just ask one thing. I know you talked about this. This will be an easy one. This won't be bad. Okay?
I didn't notice anybody know
Mike, this is better than what we used to do to you last term. You talk about the goal of reducing prison population, and it shows, but on top of that, your testimony showed a slight decrease in the one-year reincarceration rate. Is there any particular reason that you see, or things you're doing that is starting to achieve that goal?
Well, as you can see from the performance measure in the budget document, that the performance measure, that recidivism rate, has been coming down since FY15 to 16. Our goal is to reduce it even further with our efforts and strategies under the MacArthur program to address the pretrial population. If we can reduce that population and do some of the things on the back end for sentenced folks, it's hoped that we are able to reduce the people who cycle through the prison system, lower that recidivism rate, lower the crime rate.
Okay, great, thank you. Councilman Dom, you have a question?
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Councilman Greenlee. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Councilman.
Two quick questions. One is, I keep hearing a rumor, so it's probably a rumor, that 25% or so of the people in our prisons are there because they can't post bail of $200 or less. Is there any truth to that, or is that?
Generally, I don't believe rumors, but when we look at the numbers, we did an analysis with the DA's office earlier this year. We took a look at all the people who were arrested and arraigned with a $5,000 bail from January 15 to February 16. And as you know, if you have a $5,000 bail, you're required to post 10% or $500. There were about 9,000 of those people total, and I think about, where's Major Gianetta? Was it about 5,000 who came to the prison system? Approximately 5,000 people could not post that $500 bail, and they came to the prison system. Interestingly enough, within 2 weeks, 2,000? About 2,000 of those people made the bail and were actually discharged, which begs the question, why did they come there in the first place?
But doesn't it cost us like $130, $125 a day to keep
The very simple average that we use, that I don't like to use, is you take our average daily population, you divide it by our budget, and you get a figure of what it costs to house an inmate. Very simple, very rudimentary. Our intake process is the most expensive because there you're getting physical health examination, checks for STDs, mental health evaluation, social services, housing you in intake housing. So there's a lot of upfront costs to that. So we could save those costs if those 5,000 or so inmates didn't come to the system in the first place, which is the ultimate goal of the MacArthur Grant and the strategies under the MacArthur Grant.
Is there anything else we should be doing to cut down on the return rate that we're not doing?
One of the things that we've had conversations with the administration about is, in addition to all of the great strategies that have been devised by our criminal justice partners for the MacArthur Grant, one of the another issue that we should be looking at is day reporting. So this is where we can provide services, probation supervision to people in a pretrial status, or we can pick people who are short-term on their sentence, on their county sentences. Let them, parole them early, get them out of the prison system, put them in the community where it's a whole lot cheaper to supervise them and provide them with the services that they need.
Okay, look, I think you guys are doing a great job. So anything we can do to support you and lower that return rate, let us know. We're happy to help.
We're working on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Taubenberger.
Chairman, I have some questions, and if you don't have the answers, if you could respond in writing, that would
Certainly.
be fine. But accused individuals that are being held pre-trial, do you have the breakdown in number and what the costs are for that?
The number of those individuals, Councilman, our population today was 7,452.
7,452.
So 7,452 inmates. Approximately 80% of those individuals are pretrial detainees. You know, that could be anything from anybody with, a warrant out for them for a failure to appear to somebody who's accused of a homicide. So it runs the gamut. The cost to house those people, I guess a very simplistic way of doing it.
Simplistic is fine.
Simplistic way of doing it would say, 80% of our budget is spent housing those individuals. But I don't think that that's a fair way of doing it because some people require more in terms of medical and mental health, prescription medication. Some people don't cost us really much in the way of medical or mental health services. But that's a simplistic way of figuring.
So the other 20% are...
Sentenced inmates to a county sentence.
And how many then... okay, these are people that are sentenced for 2 years or less?
2 years or less, yes, sir.
Okay. And then how many are probationers or the parolees who have violated the terms of their community supervision?
That I don't have with me here today. I can get that for you.
Okay. I would appreciate that.
Got that?
I see that the organization, the Jewish Vocational Services,
JEVS,
I understand, has an 80% success rate of putting ex-convicts back to work that are out of jail, and has had the same amount of funds for 2015. I would like to request the consideration increasing their funds because I don't see why in something that is working successfully that we, with a lower rate of recidivism, that we cut their funding.
That's
Or am I incorrect in that?
Councilman Jerry Buck,
Yes.
Administrative Services Director.
Yes, Mr. Bond.
That is a prior year cost. It didn't make it in fiscal 15. It's carried forward into fiscal 16. So that's the only reason why you see a jump in 16. It should have been, I'm sorry, it should have been.
If I spoke in a microphone. Speak a little bit in a
The
microphone,
cost should have
please.
been charged against 15. It didn't make it in the 15 budget. So we got carried forward into the 16th budget. Then it was removed in the 17th budget. So it really is a flat line. We're not really decreasing.
Okay. In the budget for the 5-year projections, we're trying to reduce prison population by 34%. What does that mean in dollars?
That's a very, it's a simple question with a very complicated answer, Councilman. We have a very detailed matrix that we use when the population goes up, what areas our facilities we are going to populate. Over the years, we've had population challenges, and we've used areas that are not traditionally designed for housing as housing. We call them temporary and emergency spaces, so we populate them on a priority basis, and then when the population comes down, we reverse order and depopulate those areas. So if we are, we're at 7452 today. MacArthur levels are about 5,500, so it's about 2,000 people less. What we could do is back out of our outside housing contracts of $10 million. That's about somewhere south of 1,000 inmates. Then we have inmates that are in other areas of our facilities that we utilize extra officers just because these are areas that were not traditionally designed to be housing, or we've increased the capacity of those areas. So to make them more secure, we put additional officers there. We can back out of those areas and we can reduce that, that personnel expense. We have about 500 inmates triple celled in current Fromhold, but they're all close custody inmates. We could reduce the triple cells and the number of inmates in the multi-occupancy rooms. These are rooms that were not traditionally designed to be housing, but we're using them as housing. We can remove an officer from each one of those blocks, times 32 blocks, times 3 shifts. That would be about $5 million. So it depends on where we reduce and how we can reduce, and it depends on the population, because as I'm sure you're aware, not all inmates are the same. They have different classifications. We need to house them differently based upon their classification.
Correct. Now, was that $5 million in 1 year, or?
If we were able to do that all in 1 year, that would be $5 million in 1 year, but it's unlikely we'll be able to do that because given what we're seeing in the population, our population is swinging higher to closed custody. Maximum security, I guess, is a different way of thinking about it, and we need to house them. We only have 2 facilities that are that custody level, and we need to house them in one of those 2 facilities.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have one more question, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Why
thank you.
not?
Yep, just one. The use of ankle bracelets, is there a budget in the line for them? And
Not in our budget, Councilman. That would be the First Judicial District's pretrial services. They're the ones who supervise on electronic release.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and again, congratulations. And I think it's a huge achievement, and I know you're going to have a press conference shortly, so I'll be quick. And I want to congratulate the entire team, the entire criminal justice system, who has been a part of the MacArthur, grant and process. And I too want to welcome and congratulate Deputy Commissioner Carney, all right, for your rise to commissioner from within the department. I think is critical. I believe to. For somebody to be a commissioner of a system like the prison system, to rise through the ranks, to understand in every aspect the day-to-day job, I want to congratulate you on that. A couple things, one, I want to start on the MacArthur. I know our district attorney has been talking about being smart on crime, since he was running for office, and has hopefully shaped some of the diversionary programs around that and with the courts. Has the diversionary programs, have you seen a positive effect on your prison population as a result of the diversionary programs?
I will tell you this, Councilman, that when we started this process, the MacArthur process, last year, when we got into it in earnest in the summertime, our population was 8082. Our population is 7452 today. So that's a drop of 600 people, if my math is right. And I think that decrease is due in part to a lot of the diversionary programs we see that are taking place in cooperation with not only the district attorney, but the Defenders Association and the First Judicial District. I think the process of going through the analysis of the criminal justice system, what happens to people, where they go in the different stages, has led everybody to think about this differently and implement a lot of the changes ahead of the actual award of this grant. So I think the reduction that we're seeing, I mean, our population goes down in the wintertime anyway, but it's really going down, and we're seeing sustained decreases. Our average daily population has dropped every month this year. You know, we're down 18% in March over February. So I think that, yes, to answer your question, diversionary programs are working, and we're seeing that, I believe.
And hopefully, you know, with this holistic approach, I think, to dealing with recidivism and trying to, you know, bring the whole entire, all the partners, you know, the court system, the district attorney's office, and everybody together for a, you know, to reduce recidivism, crime, et cetera, is certainly, you know, encouraging, and I hope we continue it in a positive way. Can technology help reduce pretrial wait, or how can technology help coordinate and schedule and shorten the time for pretrial?
I mean, one of the strategies under MacArthur is a reduction in the court processing, because court processing directly relates to our length of stay. The longer it takes the court to resolve a matter, the more continuances there are, the longer somebody sits, the higher our population numbers go. So I think that part of the strategy is to utilize new technology on the pretrial end in terms of electronic monitoring. Just being able to track people where they are, where they shouldn't be able to go, call them in, supervise them. So that's more of a, as I've explained to Councilman Taubenberger, that's more of a pretrial services court issue. Mm-hmm. That's not really a function of what the prison system does, but as part of the criminal justice process and the MacArthur grant, that is something that we're working together with them on. And I think they're going to be utilizing that technology to a larger extent to help reduce our pretrial population.
Could you tell me the conditions of the prisons currently, physically?
Well, it's springtime is a lovely time up at State Road on the prisons. We have 6 facilities. Our newest facility is the Riverside Correctional Facility. It's an all-female facility. It's privately maintained by U.S. Facilities, one of our larger contracts. The condition of that facility is very good. Our second newest is Karen Fromhold. That opened in 1995 when Holmesburg closed. That's the main male intake facility. The population there today is 2740. We are experiencing some difficulties with some of the components in that building since they are 20 years old. We have a capital program in place now addressing those. We have another facility built in the 86, PICC. Some capital issues over there. The detention center built in 64. That has dormitories. You know, it's not really ideal, modern correctional unit management. And we also have the House of Corrections, which was built in the late 1800s, rehabbed in the early 1920s, and that is an old, that's what you think of when you think of an old prison, mass movement, hub and spokes. It's not ideal for modern correctional practices, and it has a lot of capital challenges.
And I want to finish this line of questioning in 2 parts. Are the conditions humane as the goal stated in the testimony, and is the security modern and up to date? In
my opinion, the conditions in all of our facilities are constitutional and humane. We have just resolved the last round of litigation we've been involved with, class action lawsuit. the settlement will be public soon. There has been no finding that our conditions have been unconstitutional. It'll be a de minimis settlement. There'll be some monitoring. And I believe, there are a number of things that we could do that enhance the security of our facilities, like video cameras for one. And that's a requirement under the Prison Rape Elimination Act. And that's part of our capital planning, is to increase the expanse of video monitoring in our facilities. But yes, we have adequate security in all of our facilities.
I'm sure the security is adequate.
Yeah, we have,
the conditions may not be, but I will, I'm out of time, so I'll go on the second round.
Okay. I think we have 2 council members who want to speak. What, you got about 10 minutes? 5 minutes?
I have as
What we
long
got?
as you want us. We have 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll make it really quick. Good afternoon to you. Congratulations again about MacArthur. 2 questions, and you may have answered this already, but just repeat it for me because I didn't hear it. The total population, I think you mentioned 7,452. Did you give a total dollar amount to house per day?
What's our budget a day?
Just straight up, taking a 2007, my name's Jerry Buck, Administrative Services Director. Just taking the total budget, fiscal 17, and dividing that by the population of 7,500, we're talking about $123 per day.
$123 per day. Now tell me of the 7,452, how many have you identified that would be eligible for those off-site or diversionary treatment facilities that I heard you reference earlier to another question? How many of that population would be eligible for those programs?
At this point, Councilwoman, I can't tell you specifically of the 7,452 in custody today which ones, but part of the MacArthur strategies identifies people in terms of certain cohorts. They have to fit a certain classification to be able to be eligible for these diversionary programs. So if you think about it, it's a 3-year grant, 34% is the reduction target, so it's probably a little over, 10-11% per year, so about 10 or 11% of our population per year by 3 years would be targeted, I guess, is a simplistic way of doing it.
Okay. Last thing, when we sort of talk about reducing the prison population, you have some people in the community, and they may get a little concerned just from a public safety perspective. And so if you're a senior who is listening to this conversation, tell us quickly how you sort of straddle that line without compromising public safety or releasing anyone who you don't think, according to the system, should be back on the street.
I want to emphasize that the grant is called the it's the Safety and Justice Challenge Grant, so safety comes first. So we are not going to do anything that would imperil public safety. So that's the first thing. We all know that we have people who belong in prison, people who commit serious violent acts. They belong there, and that's why we exist. There are a lot of people who are mentally ill, who are poor, who are sick, suffering from dependency on drugs, alcohol, who just don't belong in prison and can be treated better in the community, cheaper in the community. And we're not talking about absolving people of their wrongdoing. I mean, they're still going through the justice system, but they're going through the justice system in a way that their activity is being monitored, their progress is being monitored, and they're getting the help and the assistance that they need. So I think people would be happy to hear that lower level individuals are being released in the community under supervision and getting the services they need rather than just being back in the community unsupported.
Well, Commissioner, thank you for answering that on the record. Thank you for highlighting substance abuse along with the mental health challenges that many members of the population are facing. That is important. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Green?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be very brief. And congratulations to the new commissioner. I'll just ask you this quick question. From my understanding, the prison medical contract will be up either in FY18 or FY19, which is probably the largest professional service contract that prisons had. I wanted to ask the new commissioner her thoughts and perspectives on MWBE contracting opportunities with regards to that contract.
Thank you. So with regards to that large healthcare contract, we're looking at increasing the MBE percentage up by, it's currently 6%. Dr. Herdman is working with, currently doing an RFP for that to be sure that we meet our targeted goals that are indicated in the budget.
Okay. And that contract, the RFP will go out in what time period?
This summer.
This summer.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. Before I recognize Councilman Heenan, Commissioners, I know Councilwoman Sanchez and maybe others have questions. We don't have time to hold you right now, so we might, there's a callback process, so you'll be hearing from us again. Councilman Heenan, did you?
That is it, Chairman. I was just going to ask for,
Okay.
respect and courtesy
Right.
for the important announcement that I would request a callback for the department
Okay.
when all the parties are available.
Great.
Can we be
Thank you.
guaranteed that just these council people will be here when we get called back?
Sir, you've been around here long enough to know better than to even ask that question.
I figured it couldn't hurt to ask.
Thank you. And again, congratulations, everybody.
Thank you.